Welcome to Microeconomics, Key Concepts and Essential Thinkers. This video provides a comprehensive review of foundational ideas that explain how individuals, firms, and markets make decisions. This program is brought to you by the Series of Thoughts team as part of the Economics Education Series. Our roadmap covers 5 core pillars of microeconomic theory: foundations, markets, consumers and firms, market structures, and market failures. We will explore each in clear, digestible sections. The central problem of economics is scarcity. Resources are limited, but human wants are not. This forces every economy to make choices about allocating what they have. Scarcity applies to all resources, including time, money, and labor. Opportunity cost is the true cost of every choice, defined as the value of the next best alternative you forego. Rational decision-makers think at the margin, comparing the additional benefit against the additional cost. Economists like Frederick Bastiat and Lionel Robbins highlighted this concept. The Production Possibilities Frontier, or PPF, graphically illustrates scarcity and opportunity cost. Points on the curve are efficient, inside are inefficient, and outside are currently unattainable. The bowed-out shape shows the law of increasing opportunity cost. Chapter 2 focuses on markets and Adam Smith's concept of the invisible hand. This describes how individuals pursuing self-interest unintentionally promote society's well-being by creating efficient outcomes through price signals. The law of demand states that as the price of a good rises, the quantity demanded falls. Shifts in the entire demand curve are caused by non-price determinants, like income, prices of related goods, tastes, expectations, and the number of buyers. The law of supply states that as the price of a good rises, the quantity supplied increases, making production more profitable. Key determinants that shift the supply curve include input costs, technology, regulations and taxes, and natural events. Market equilibrium occurs where quantity demanded equals quantity supplied. The market clears. At prices above equilibrium, we have a surplus, and below, a shortage. Markets self-correct as prices adjust toward equilibrium, a concept formalized by Alfred Marshall. Price elasticity of demand, or PED, measures how sensitive quantity demanded is to a price change. Demand can be elastic, inelastic, or unit elastic, with this measure informing firms' pricing strategies to maximize total revenue. Several factors determine demand elasticity. Demand is more elastic when substitutes are available, the good is a luxury, the good takes up a larger share of the budget, or over a longer time horizon. Alfred Marshall was a key contributor to this area. Consumer surplus is the difference between what a buyer is willing to pay and what they actually pay. Producer surplus is the difference between the price a seller receives and the minimum they would accept. Total surplus measures the total welfare gain from trade, maximized in free markets at equilibrium. Chapter 3 introduces utility, economists' term for consumer satisfaction. While total utility is cumulative satisfaction, marginal utility is the additional satisfaction from consuming one more unit. The law of diminishing marginal utility explains downward-sloping demand curves. Utility maximization follows the equal marginal principle. Rational consumers allocate their budget so that the marginal utility per dollar spent on each good is equal. This ensures the consumer achieves their utility-maximizing basket. Indifference curves show combinations of goods that provide the same utility. The budget constraint shows affordable combinations. The consumer optimum is the point where the budget line is tangent to the highest reachable indifference curve. Chapter 4 introduces the theory of the firm, focusing on production inputs and outputs in the short run. A production function links inputs to maximum output. In the short run, at least one input is fixed, leading to the law of diminishing marginal returns. A firm's costs include fixed costs, which don't change with output, and variable costs, which rise with output. Total cost is the sum of these two. Marginal cost, the additional cost of one more unit, is the most critical decision variable for a firm. Average costs include average total cost, AVC, and AFC. The ATC curve is U-shaped, initially falling as fixed costs are spread, then rising due to diminishing returns. Critically, the marginal cost curve always crosses the ATC curve at its minimum point, indicating the most efficient scale. In the long run, economies of scale occur when long-run ATC falls as output rises due to specialization and bulk purchasing. Constant returns mean ATC stays flat, and diseconomies of scale occur when ATC rises due to coordination problems in overly large firms. Chapter 5 covers the 4 market structures, categorized by the number of sellers, product type, and ease of entry. These include perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly, each resulting in different outcomes for price and output. Perfect competition features many firms selling identical products. Firms are price takers and maximize profit where P equals MC. In the long run, free entry and exit drive economic profit to zero, achieving both allocative and productive efficiency. A monopoly is a single seller with high barriers to entry, making it a price maker. It maximizes profit where MR equals MC, but since MR is less than P, the price charged exceeds marginal cost. This results in allocative inefficiency and deadweight loss. Monopolists can increase profits through price discrimination by charging different prices to different consumers. There are 3 degrees: first degree, or perfect discrimination, second degree, or quantity discounts, and third degree, or market segmentation. Monopolistic competition involves many sellers with differentiated products and free entry. Firms have some short-run pricing power, but earn zero economic profit in the long run. They operate with excess capacity, often seen as the cost of variety for consumers. An oligopoly is dominated by a few large firms whose products can be identical or differentiated. The key feature is mutual interdependence. The kinked demand curve model suggests oligopolists prefer non-price competition over price wars, leading to price rigidity. Game theory analyzes the strategic interdependence of oligopolists. A Nash equilibrium is reached when no player can improve their outcome by unilaterally changing strategy. The concept of a dominant strategy helps identify this equilibrium. The prisoner's dilemma illustrates that firms, like prisoners, have a dominant strategy that leads to a suboptimal collective outcome. For oligopolists, this explains why they often compete, even though collusion would yield higher profits for both. Chapter 6 explores market failures, where allocative efficiency is not achieved. Externalities, costs or benefits that affect uninvolved third parties, are a main cause. Negative externalities lead to overproduction, while positive externalities cause underproduction. Arthur P. Gu suggested using government intervention, such as taxes on negative externalities, to internalize social costs. Conversely, the Coase theorem states that if transaction costs are low and property rights are defined, private bargaining can achieve the efficient outcome without government. Public goods are non-rivalrous and non-excludable. This leads to the free rider problem, causing markets to underprovide them. Governments must step in, typically funding public goods like national defense through taxation, as formally analyzed by Paul Samuelson. Asymmetric information occurs when one party knows more than the other, causing markets to malfunction. George Akerlof illustrated this with the market for lemons, used cars, where sellers hide quality, driving out good cars. The principal-agent problem arises when an agent, like a CEO, acts on behalf of a principal, like a shareholder, but has misaligned incentives. Solutions, pioneered by Jensen and Meckling, involve incentive-compatible contracts, like stock options. Behavioral economics shows humans deviate from the rational ideal. Biases like anchoring and loss aversion, studied by Kahneman and Tversky, influence decisions. Richard Thaler's nudge theory shows how choice architecture can improve outcomes. This video highlights essential microeconomists: Adam Smith with The Invisible Hand, Alfred Marshall with Supply and Demand, and Arthur P. Gu with Externalities. More recently, Kahneman and Tversky founded behavioral economics. In conclusion, microeconomics teaches us that scarcity drives choice and that firms think at the margin. Markets are powerful, but sometimes fail, and human behavior is inherently non-rational. This lens helps you see economic principles everywhere.